Charles, you once said to me that you had an identity crisis when execution didn't lead to the place where you were hoping to go. What did that actually look like on a day to day basis? I mean, were there moments where you literally almost gave up?
Oh my gosh. So the way it actually happened is I was oblivious to it until all those little pieces of my identity got taken away. So what I didn't realize is I had built my entire life and my identity, lack of, I mean, there's no better word to describe it than your identity, who you believe you are, what you think your value is. I had built that entire thing based on my social status, being married, living at the beach, my job title, which was at the time commercial contracts director, for a big name company kind of thing. It was all those things, and what I didn't realize, which I know right now, it's crystal clear. Once I explain it, you're going to be like, "Oh crap!" Is those were all external metrics of who I was, none of which were actually in my control because within a very short window of time, like in the span of a month, a couple of weeks, all that stuff got taken away from me. I lost my job, and literally my ex and I separated and decided to get divorced, which meant selling that house at the beach. Like it, everything that I thought I was, oh, I'm Mr. Big Shot, I'm this. Everybody can look at my life and see that I've got my stuff all squared away, and they can judge me based on being this director and this married guy with this beautiful wife and these kids and this. Like that was how I was measuring my success. Now,
And
looking back, that's also why it felt very empty and very hollow. Because you know me personally, you know that those things don't actually really matter to me. But what happened was they were supposed to matter to me. That's what I was taught. That's how I was conditioned to believe I was supposed to build my life and what was going to give my life meaning and what was going to give my life value and purpose. But that's not really what happened.
so let me ask you, you literally just said, Tony, you know me personally, you know that that's not what actually matters to me. How did you discover your non-negotiable values, the things that, okay, I know that these 4 or 5 different values are what makes me fulfilled as a person?
Yeah. It started professionally. So I lost my job, but that company was really cool in that they said, hey, we're really sorry about this, but we're going to give you 60 days transition. And during that 60 days, we're going to give you some career counseling. We're going to hook you up with a headhunter. We're going to hook you up with a resume writing service. Like we want to do everything we can to assist you. Like, cool. So I sat
That
down
sounds
with those.
actually, let me cut you. That sounds amazing.
It was a fantastic company, and I'm not here to plug or
Uh-huh.
disparage any particular company. So I don't necessarily want to name them, but they were as great as they could be about this. And so I met with those individuals, and they're like, and here it is. Here's my resume, right? Which is again, if you think about that, oh my gosh, your resume is such an artifact of what you think your value is, right? I have a complete. If I had to write a resume today, it would look completely differently than the resumes that I wrote in the past, right? Because and when we speak to project managers, this is what we talk about, right? My resume of the past was this school from this date to this date, and this GPA and this certification and this training and this thing and this thing and this. Like I'm trying to make you believe that I'm worthy. If I wrote a resume today, it might be a page and
Uh-huh.
it would say, listen, this is the kind of leader that I am. These are the results that I get. These are the things that are important to me. This is how I really, truly believe I make the most effective change. And, but blah, blah, blah. It would be about who I am as a human, not like my pedigree. Okay. But that's the difference between an execution mindset and a leadership mindset. That's a little bit different. And it's off topic from what you actually asked me. But I sat with those people and they were like, okay, this is great. This is great. This is great. Looks like you're really qualified for the job that you're losing. It's like, yeah, I'm really qualified for the job that I'm losing, for the job that I currently hold right now, because that's what we do. We play this sorting game, right? And oh man, project managers in particular, the guys, the people in IT, it's a nightmare. Oh, you have this certification for 7.3, but you don't have the certification for 7.4. Oh, well, we're just going to throw you away. And it's like, well, the differences between 7.3 and 7.4 are really minimal. Yeah. But, right. And so we live our lives like that. Like, yeah, you were good at that, but you're not good at this thing. It's like, but that's the same thing. Um, so I sat with these people, and the career counselor was really the closest thing to a coach that I could describe. And they asked, okay, yeah. Let's put all this aside for a second. Like, let's put all your credentials and all your certifications and all that stuff aside for a second, and let's talk about what do you really give a crap about. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, what? Yeah, you've had all these jobs and stuff like that, but what was the best part? Like, what are your best days? Think of the 5 best days you had in your entire career. And I had to go, that was my homework, to go and write this little essay about these are the 5 best days of my entire career. And that coach was able to look at that and go, oh, I see the thread here.
Mm-hmm.
The thread was contribution, adventure, collaboration, humor, and fun. Like, that sounds like a list of values to me.
I would imagine that knowing and identifying your values also helped you understand, okay, these are, as you said, the things that I enjoy doing, the things that are right for me, and these are the things that I also know are not going to work out well for me. Can you give an example of something that you walked away from because it didn't align with your values?
Absolutely. Same company, several years prior, I created a program, a system, a program. It was both digital and human based, but it's really about lessons learned and operating experience, how to avoid errors and how to make better schedules and make better project plans and stuff like that by using lessons learned from the past. A lot of people say that they use operating experience and lessons learned, but I'm going to say my program was quite a bit much more sophisticated than that. Okay. It worked really well for the division that I worked in. Wow, incredible, awesome. Everybody loved it. The big hoo-has came down and said, hey, we've been made aware of this program. We love it too. We want you to roll it out across the whole company. We're going to make you program manager. We're going to have you go and visit all of our sites, of which there are dozens. We want you to roll this program out, get this down into like a 3 or 4 day training and rollout. And we want you to go to these sites and we want you to do this for these people. And we want you to spread this. And we're going to make you a program director and we're going to give you a travel budget and all this kind of stuff. Right. That sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like hell on earth to me. That is absolutely not aligned with any of my values or what fulfills me as a person. Part of the reason that the program worked so well when I rolled it out was because of a keyword that I already mentioned, which is collaboration and contribution. That's it. That's my oxygen. Okay. Going to a bunch of remote sites to meet people that I don't know to try to cram this program down their throats in 2 or 3 days and then say, good luck with it and move on. That's a lot of significance. That's a lot of attention. That's a lot of status,
But
but
it
I
didn't
don't care
fulfill
about any of
any
those
of your
things.
values, right?
So I politely declined and said, that's not the right role for me. Not to mention my kids were like 6 and 8. They were playing soccer. We lived at the beach. Like, nah, that doesn't sound fun to me to go to Wisconsin in February and roll this out for another branch. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So, but recognizing, yes, listen, a big, huge part of my practice, personally and professionally, is getting to people to realize that happiness and success and fulfillment is actually the absence of violations. It's not the presence of titles and stuff and it's the absence of violations, right? So that entire offer that they made me, the money and all that kind of stuff, was just dripping with violations of me. I would have been miserable. I wouldn't have lasted 6 months in that role. Not a chance.
So What if someone is listening right now and they're hearing you speak and they want and they're capable of seeing how their current career and the role that they're in doesn't align with their own personal values? What's the solution? I mean, do they just quit their job and go look for one that actually does align with their values, or is there a, is there a better way, or I mean, how do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get out of
I
that
do
position?
not. I do not prescribe flipping your entire life upside down and crashing
Right.
out and selling everything and going to live in a van down by the river. I never prescribe that. It's always, I don't want to say better, but there's always an option, an opportunity to make before break. Okay. You can be very intentional about this. And actually, even if you're miserable in your current role or with your current manager or in your current organization, even if you're miserable there, it's serving you. Okay. So hopefully it's at least paying the bills and, showing some kind of continuity of employability kind of thing. So it's serving you in that way. So hang on to it for a second. And
Mm-hmm.
before this is a mistake a lot of people make is when they make that leap, they quit or they can't stand it anymore, or they get laid off or something against their will. Either way, they end up in this space where they need to quickly find something. They have to. You get very fear based and very scarcity based, and you're ready to take anything that comes along. That's what perpetuates that cycle of misery. Okay. So what's better to do in that space is, hey, I'm not happy here. I feel like I could be doing better. I could be doing more. That is the exact position of many of the project managers that we talk to, right? Which is, I'm doing all the stuff. I have all the certifications. I have all the credentials, but like they don't see me as a leader. They're not pushing me forward. They're not giving me the opportunities that I want. Okay. So you get intentional about it. And the first thing to do is to take an inventory. You can use the example that I just shared, right? Hey, if you do nothing else from this conversation, sit down and write yourself a story, write about the best experience, your best day at work. I don't care if it was 25 years ago at a
Mm-hmm.
grocery store. I don't care about that. Write the story and then be critical and get some input, get a peer check from someone who knows you and say, well, what do you think this was such a great day for me? Oh, well, knowing what I mean, be careful about other people's advice because it's
Mm-hmm.
significantly biased by their own perspective. But tell yourself that story and say, what was it about that day and that day and that day and that day that really made work or my career or my life or whatever it was worthwhile? And you'll find a little flakes of evidence in there of what that value system is. Start with an inventory. Recognize the story that I just told. Yeah, that looks great, but does it fulfill me? Is that going to be sustainable? Right? That's why I did not take that role. That's why I did not accept that promotion, because there's no way it was going to be sustainable once I knew what really motivated me intrinsically. So start with an inventory, and then you're never gonna achieve great, a great job, a great role, a great career, a great existence if you don't know what great looks like. So give yourself, flip that piece of paper over, and now write, what would a perfect day at work look like? And a perfect day at work don't be a wise ass. A perfect day at work is me sitting at home watching TV, eating cereal. Like, come on, be realistic, right? Like, well, what do you really want to contribute to this planet before you leave? Ooh, write that story. And
Yeah,
that's the basis for plotting a course between where you are and something that would really be meaningful for you.
here's what we're gonna do, Charles. Next week, I'm gonna come with my story prepared. I'm gonna sit down and write down what my best 5 days at work have been, which I'm actually curious to sit down and think about those 5 days. And I'm gonna share them with you next week, and we can talk about that and see
Ooh,
if you can come
excellent.
up with what my personal values would look like based on my
Absolutely.
story. That sounds like a great something that everybody should do, man. Just write
It,
down what
it can
those.
be a big aha moment for a lot of people because something happens when we show up to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
We play a role. We play a role. This is who I'm supposed to be. And we miss the opportunity to bring our own special perspective, our own special flair, our own special creativity to a job or a role just because no one else ever has. And so we haven't seen the example. And what we think, again, this started with your original question, how did I know I was having an identity crisis? Because somebody reached in and took that away from me. And in the absence of that role to play, well, who am I? If I'm not a director and I'm not a husband, who am I? Thank God you can't really take, father away from me, right? They're going to be my kid, but that, I mean, that was 2/3 of my life that got taken away pretty darn quickly. And I had no idea what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? So being able to tie that to something that no one can take away from you, wow, it makes a big, big difference in how you show up in the world.
All right. Well, tune in next week if you want to see Charles coaching me live on my best 5 days at work. All
Awesome.
right. See you next week.
See ya.